welcome to Tea and Strumpets. I'm Zoe.
And I'm Kelsey.
And today we are joined by an amazing romance novelist, including the author of a book that we read here on the podcast, The Duke, A Lady, and a Baby, and 2 upcoming 2021 releases. So it is Vanessa Riley. So Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Guys, thank you for having me.
We are just thrilled to have you and to talk Bridgerton.
Yay!
So Vanessa, do you want to tell our listeners just a little bit more about you and the books that you write?
Well, I'm Vanessa Riley. I write historical fiction and historical romance. I focus on the Georgian and Regency eras. I look for stories that showcase maybe a little bit of hidden history, a lot of romance, things that make people dream about what it would have been like for everyone back in those particular time periods.
Sounds like books we like to read.
It is books we like to read, for sure. And the reason that we invited Vanessa onto the podcast was because, well, first of all, I've really been wanting to have her on the podcast. And I had the perfect excuse to reach out here, which was that right after Bridgerton came out, I think it was like the day after, or very soon after, you tweeted your thoughts and reactions to it. And I had not yet watched the whole series because I have a 3-month-old, but I was working on it. And so I was just really interested in your perspective. I thought you had some really good thoughts about it. As we've talked about kind of on our series of talking about the Bridgertons, you know, of course, there's a lot of different chatter about certain aspects of the Bridgertons. And so I think like one thing I've really liked about our series of talking to lots of different people is getting a lot of different perspectives about the series from the kind of perspective that we love it. You know, maybe there's some things to talk about, some conversations to have, but definitely it's something to enjoy. So that was my excuse. And then right when I was reaching out to you, literally that day, like you had just posted, I think 1 minute previously about your opinion article in the Washington Post about Bridgerton. So I was, as I saw that, I thought, okay, I definitely have to reach out and ask her if she'll join us now.
It's my pleasure. And I was one of those 3 a.m. in the morning, Christmas morning. I told my family, don't bother me. I'm invested. And it was, to me, I love the series. It was great escapism. It was fun. It was fresh. I mean, it was a wonderful thing. So I'm glad to talk about Bridgerton.
Excellent. So before we dive more deeply into your thoughts on it, what we want to know is, what is your relationship to the Bridgerton books?
I am a fan of the Bridgerton books. My favorite is The Duke and I.
Oh, wow.
Oh, good.
So that was our next question.
To Sir Philip with Love, I think is great. And The Viscount Who Loved Me.
Oh,
Yes.
But I was always drawn to The Duke and I. I thought it was very bold for, some of the controversial things. It was very bold for that approach, that time frame. Who doesn't love Julia? Julia's very lush in the way her descriptions, and that story about Simon just broke my heart. I mean, I love a hero or heroine who just overcomes so many different things. And even when they look like they have everything together, they're still that messed up pile of stew that has to get, saved by love. Who doesn't love that?
When we reread it for the podcast, I think I was like tearing up just in the prologue. And I was like, I don't remember having such a visceral reaction to this book the first time around. And I was like in tears, and I hadn't even gotten to the first chapter yet.
It just breaks your heart.
Oh, it does.
And I think they captured that in episode 2 so well.
I completely agree. I think they actually captured, and I know we haven't gotten into our Bridgerton discussion yet, but one thing that I've been so happy with about the series is that they captured a lot of that relatability in the characters, because I feel like so many of the characters, everyone has a favorite, or a few favorites in the Bridgerton series, I feel like, because you relate stronger with one of the characters. There's like a little something for everybody. And I feel like the series did such a good job, even though it's focusing on Daphne and Simon this first season, kind of giving you those Easter eggs of everybody else who your character is going to be. So I don't know. Lots of fun, and Simon forever.
I'm just hoping that because Daphne and Simon are so larger than life now, give them something meaty for season 2. I mean, even though it's going to be Anthony's story, please give us something else.
It's okay. We still have the famous Paul Mall scene.
Oh, that's true.
And Daphne and Simon feature very heavily in that. So I'm all for it. I'm waiting for it.
Oh my gosh. So Vanessa, if you could have one of your books or series adapted to the screen, what would you pick, and why would you pick that one?
That is a very good. That's a very good. I do. It's like choosing between children. How can you do this?
I mean, Julia won't pick a favorite of her Bridgertons either. I mean, it's.
I think, and you guys have read me. One of the things people say is that it's very visual.
Yes.
Very much so. So I think they all would play very well. The current series, Rogues and Remarkable Women.
Yeah.
I think after you guys get through An Earl, the Girl, and a Toddler, you will see that series, I think. All the stories. And the latter one, which I've just finished up, tentatively, a Marquess, an Artist, and a Baby Maybe.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it.
I think that would be very cinematographic. So,
oh my gosh,
listen to Teen Strumpets.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, and that's what a title. I mean, that one is really
I'm
fun.
I'm still amazed that they let. Okay, if there's ever a corny title, know that it's all me.
I just like the continuation between the 3 books. I love it.
Good. And they are. My thing is, when I introduce a character to you guys, you're gonna see them again. It's not just gonna be little slim bits there. It's their stories are continuing, so you can continue to see. Well, how is that relationship going? What's going on with them and whatnot. So I want you to spend time with the whole family.
I mean, and I feel like that's what is one of my favorite things about romance in general is like you have an emotional return on, seeing these people find their happily ever after, but you don't just lose them a lot of the time when you have good series, because you still get that kind of like euphoric feeling when you see them again and they're thriving. So I'm definitely really excited to keep reading your particular series this year. So,
thank you.
But shall we now kind of circle back to the Bridgertons and start with our episode synopsis? We are talking this episode about episode number 4, An Affair of Honor.
So this episode, everyone is abuzz with Prince Friedrich's interest in Daphne, who does let him court her, all while stealing wistful glances at Simon. She accepts a stunning diamond necklace as a gift from the prince, all while the Tun watches. But Violet can obviously see that Daphne is pining for Simon and love. And when she asks her if she likes it, Daphne can only honestly say, "It's very beautiful." Meanwhile, Lady D talks to the Duke about how love conquers all, hoping to make him stay and fight for Daphne. But we all know that Simon's got his reasons for not wanting ever to marry, so that's still not happening, according to him. And then there's Eloise, who doesn't want Daphne to get married soon, because that would mean that she is next in line for marriage, and nothing can be a fate worse than being married, according to Eloise. Buoyed by the need to do something worthwhile, rather than being idle, Eloise decides to take it upon herself to uncover the secret identity of Lady Whistledown. Also, we begin to realize that Penelope is taken with Colin Bridgerton and is quite dismayed when she learns of Marina's plans to trick Colin into marriage. Then we get our compromising situation. At Lady Trowbridge's ball, Daphne and Simon argue and then kiss in the garden. And unfortunately, this is seen by both Anthony and the ton mean girl Cressida Cowper. So our hot-headed Anthony challenges Simon to a duel at dawn when Simon refuses to do the honorable thing and marry Daphne. Cressida makes a nasty, vaguely threatening remark to Daphne on her way out of the ball that makes Daphne realize that Cressida has seen the whole thing. So Daphne is able to stop the duel last minute by telling Simon that she will be ruined if he does not marry her, as they cannot depend on Cressida's silence. And then we get to the heart of their conflict. Simon tells her that he cannot have kids and does not want Daphne to be forced into a childless marriage, as he knows how important family is to her. In the end, Daphne decides that his life and them sharing a life together is more important than children. So she announces that they will marry, and that puts an end to the duel.
Oof. Like, what an episode, man. This one was like jam-packed. All of a sudden, I realized like everything's going to happen this season. Like, it wasn't going to be 2 seasons of their story in, of the Duke and I in Bridgerton. Like, I was kind of surprised about that. I wasn't sure if they were going to do that until this moment.
I was really excited because I want it to be like book 1, season 1, book 2, season 2.
Yes, I was like, that was a cliffhanger, right? The cliffhanger moment, Anthony and the Duke are going to duel, and they're looking hot, by the way. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that was like a yummy profile, the 2 back to back.
Oh, yeah.
40 on.
Yeah. I really couldn't though. All I was just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Well, it was so funny you say that because my husband wasn't watching the whole series with me. He'd just sit and watch parts of it, and then he had lots of questions, and I was like, shh, shh. And it was really funny because he's like, so what's the deal with the duel? What's a second? And I was like, do you not remember the 10 Duel Commandments from Hamilton? We watched it together on stage. Come on, man.
He should have known, because that's like counting rules.
I had a major Hamilton moment, just with the duel scene especially. But I've had a lot of Hamilton moments. There's been some lines that also are very similar. I don't know. I just it's fun when you kind of can see your one of your favorite fandoms in another of your favorite fandoms.
I know. I checked my time. I was like, wait a minute. The duel is now? That would be like an end, if I were shooting this, that would be the end of the episode. I was like, we're only 30 minutes. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do for 30 minutes?
Yes. Yeah. I did find Daphne's fall off the horse. I remember thinking that was a little silly. Kelsey and I are horse girls. So it was very dramatic. But hey, it's a romance, right? So
I like it though, because she's like, well, I wouldn't have fallen if y'all had been idiots. So
and you notice the Duke was there, even beating her brother to her, and then
I loved that. I loved that just representation. He's like, it just shows his love, even though he can't vocalize it.
So there were a couple of things that I thought as Regency readers were kind of interesting choices where Kelsey and I are never, ever about historical accuracy because Regency romance is fantasy. But there was something that broke the Regency romance rules that I thought that watchers who don't know Regency romance wouldn't say anything about this. But the prince gave Daphne a gift of jewelry.
That's true. That was it. I did notice that. And I was like, oh, that means something.
Yeah, that usually is reserved for a mistress. And number 2, he did that in front of everybody. I was like, scandal.
Did we also notice how Daphne just casually took it off and left it on a balcony and then walked away from it? And I was like, girl, that's a very expensive necklace you just left.
Somebody slowed the video down, and they say that she grabs it. I don't know if it's when she's running.
Okay, good. Because I was like, did you just leave that thing on the edge there? You're not getting that back.
And Cresta's go get it because she's right on the heel. So but somebody actually, that is such an intense thing in the fandom. Someone actually slowed the video down and saw her grab the necklace as she ran off into the into the gardens.
Oh, good. Phew.
Yeah. Because, like, even, you certainly don't want to lose a necklace that a prince gave you. That would probably also be seen as very rude. Another really big scene in this is between Lady Danbury and Simon. So Simon and Lady D are having a conversation where she talks about Black people in Bridgerton being kind of risen in societal standing because of the king marrying Queen Charlotte, who is of Black ancestry and is played by a Black actress. So I thought that this was really interesting. I didn't expect this personally. I didn't see it coming because I kind of assumed it would be very similar to Hamilton, where, nothing is mentioned and it's just a world where that doesn't exist. And I think that for me, once they did mention that, I actually got a little bit less comfortable. And then I was like, okay, well, is this my own bias coming in here? So I wanted to have a conversation around this because I felt that once you kind of mentioned that race is a thing, then going back to Marina's storyline, especially her relationship with Mrs. Featherington, who kind of holds her in contempt at the beginning and actually slaps her across the face. That's where I got a little bit like, uncomfortable with it. But I've seen some other articles where people have been really happy that it was mentioned because it just changes the conversation a little bit. And so, I just wanted to open up a conversation about that and see what you guys thought about that and what your reactions were to it when they had that conversation.
I was torn because I like you. It was not necessary because of the way that the show was done and the way they presented race, the way they showed the all reaches, all the different races were represented in all levels. So you saw people of the ton of different ethnicities. You saw people in the working stations. So, they had this beautiful mythology going on. So in some regards, it's not necessary. But I believe Shonda Rhimes plays the long game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by putting out the mythology of her viewpoint of love changing all, she's messaging to everyone. Mm-hmm. So she's giving a reason because, as you read the books, Queen Charlotte, is not really a significant factor in these books. But she's a significant factor in the show. A lot of turning points are hinging upon her interaction, her meddling, her choosing whom is the season's diamond, all these different things. So to be able to give this methodology, I see the reason for it. And once again, she's messaging love conquers all. So she's going to show us seasons of Bridgerton, hopefully. That is going to show how love conquers all. And I think, I buy it from that standpoint. But race was always there to me. Race was always there, regardless of whether, I think most of the time in period pieces, we are sensitized to seeing the cruelty. We're sensitized to seeing the othering of folks, the inherent inequities. We're used to seeing that. And so there's a group of people that's what they expect to see. And so if you don't see that piece of society, then it's inauthentic. It could never happen. And it's disparaging because you're not talking about, the years of enslavement and all these, very, very hard realities of history. Yeah. But Shonda is going beyond that. She's like, look, I'm trying to show you the way the world should have been. This hope and belief of what it could be. Yeah. But I'm not stripping out who any of these people are. Like it's, Regé Jean Page plays not a duke. He plays a Black duke. There are very subtle things of culture that are entwined in his story that would not necessarily be there if he was playing Darcy. Yeah. And he'd do a great Darcy.
Oh.
Just say it.
He'd do a great lots of people. He could be in anything. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes.
He could be a great Lord Ashbrook.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
But I think but I think that's the statement of the series. People are not losing who they are to be in this show, but everybody has a place, everybody has a voice, and it can be messy without having the historical burden of enslavement and those inequities. Let's just go with straight classism and feminism. Those are two big ones we just tackle, and everybody can have a part.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like, for Eloise's character, I like how ultra feminist they make her and how she's like, oh, marriage, children? Oh, no, I don't think that's something we should do, And I like that they really show her very much advocating for that, even if she's not already out yet. She's like, okay, cool. And then even with Daphne wanting to get married and she's like, are you sure, Daph? You can still just not do it. And so I think there's a lot of discussion. But as you said, I think from my look at it, I saw Shonda Rhimes creating an alternate world, a world where Queen Charlotte's Black ancestry was recognized, and that elevated a level of society up. Because, historically, we do know that she probably did have Black ancestry and probably did not look like the classic white person. But of course, you can talk about the whitewashing of history everywhere. And remember, there was no photographs. We don't actually know what anyone looked like. We only know what artists painted.
and she could the Black lineage is traced through her Portuguese line. Mm-hmm. It's several generations back. One can make an argument for the purity of if you're only marrying a small set of individuals, that these features, whatnot, would carry through to the present generation. And then when you look at the portraits that have lived, the ones that are actually in Buckingham Palace, if I'm a queen, I'm not going to have a picture that's in my castle that's not going to look like me, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to have anything that makes me look ugly. If anything, it's going to be enhanced. Mm-hmm. And so you look at some of the pictures and you see from the facial features and whatnot, she has very strong African-centric featers. Mm-hmm. And so much so that, that some of the slights at her during the day, they'd call her mulatto face. There was a lot of abolitionist movement during that time frame. So some people are saying that's why the paintings are painted that way. But my thing is, once again, if you hire this, I'm Queen Charlotte, I'm paying you to point me. Mm-hmm. You're going to make me look good. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, so I think that really does play into the story. But I do really appreciate the conversation Lady Danbury did have. But then again, I also just her scene with Simon where she's telling him how to be a duke and how she's like, everyone's going to fear me. People can talk about me all they want, but when I walk into the room, I'm going to strike fear into all their hearts. And that's what I do. So you can do it too. And I was like, oh, yes, do it.
Remember when she back in episode 2 where she commands Anthony to get her some ratafia? Mm-hmm. It was scare me.
Yeah. And I think that Kelsey and we've already said, many times we really don't have any time for people who are going to cry historical accuracy over pretty much anything in Regency romance. But I did appreciate this quote from Nicola Coughlan, who plays Penelope Featherington. I just liked it. It was kind of sassy. And she said, on Game of Thrones, you can suspend your belief for dragons. For Bridgerton, you can suspend your belief that we have a Black queen and a Black duke. So fair enough. But also all of the other things that we've said too. So
exactly.
So very cool. So I want to talk more about the whole series and get into some spoilers. But before we do that, shall we adjourn to the parlor?
We shall. All right, so everybody, today we're keeping it short and sweet. We just want to talk to you a little bit more about us.
Yes, because we are going to talk a little bit more about Vanessa at the end of the episode. So you'll be able to learn all of her handles and where to get her books there. And of course, all that stuff is always in the show notes as well. But if you'd like to interact with the recap you're hearing today on social media, be sure to use the hashtag #BEEMyBridgerton.
And if you want to get in touch with us about this or any other episode, you can email us at romancepod@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at T as in Tom, N as in Nancy Strumpets, on Facebook /TN Strumpets, or on YouTube by searching our name. And even if you don't listen to us on YouTube, which surprisingly, we have a lot of people who have been finding us through YouTube, and that's really exciting to us, but it would actually quite help us out if you wouldn't mind subscribing to us on YouTube. We need to get to a threshold of subscribers to do some other cool things with our YouTube, and we would love to get there. So if you have a YouTube account and you just want to head over to YouTube and subscribe to us, what we have on there is all of our full-length episodes, and they're all arranged in different playlists, so it's really easy to find, very similar to our website as well. But if you don't mind subscribing to us on YouTube, we would love that. It really helps us out.
Yes. And if you want to be even more in the know, you can sign up for our email notifications on our website, romancepod.com.
And we're so thankful that you're joining us here today in the parlor. We do appreciate your time and your ears, and we also very much appreciate any reviews that you leave us. Reviews really do help us out. You can review us on Apple Podcasts, Facebook. You can hit that 5-star, whatever is easiest for you. But we certainly do love hearing from you and getting that sort of feedback. So thanks, everyone. So yeah, let's talk the whole series. This is the first episode that we're recording. I'm going to, well, it's not the first episode, but I'm going to pull part the curtain here and say this is the first episode we're recording that I've actually watched the entire series for.
Oh, so we go.
I had to leave the discussions for the other ones. Yes, I did. Sorry, keeping the kid happy too. I had to leave the discussions for the overall series discussion because I still had like half an hour left of the last episode, but a lot happens in that last half hour.
Oh man.
I just figured something out the other day. Okay. Now this is my theory. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Lady Featherington, they have the note of who's going to inherit, right?
Mm-hmm.
We already know who possibly is in line. Marina's dad.
Ooh.
Remember? Marina's actually wealthier than first glance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the reason that she was staying with them, other than being knocked up, sorry. That's a spoiler.
We're allowing spoilers now. It's fine.
Oh yeah, spoilers all the way.
Well, other than being knocked up and trying to, get a husband very quickly, the father, he owed money.
Yeah.
So that's a potential there of who's going to come, her father or someone within that Marina's line.
Yeah.
To be inheriting the Featherton estate.
So my first guess was Nigel Beerbrook because he marries one of the Featherington sisters in the books, and he's already been kind of a villain in this. So that was my thought. I hadn't thought about it too hard yet.
Okay, that's true. I forgot about that.
I'm gonna completely go left really quickly because in this series, they made Nigel Beerbrook the villainous character. And I kept telling my husband who was sitting there, and I was like, no, he's supposed to just be a bumbling idiot. He's not malicious. He's just an idiot. I don't know if I like the fact that he's a bit of this malicious character. I just want him to be an idiot.
Yeah. With the whole plotting that he did, I was like, wait a minute.
I was like, no, you're supposed to be a little bit of an idiot. And he's supposed to have a brother who comes in later, Also, not the brightest crayon in the box.
Yes.
But again, all the supposed to's, this is an interpretation. We're not trying to get too deep into supposed to.
He couldn't. If he's marrying into the Featherton family, he still wouldn't get it. It has to be blood going through the father's line.
That's
true. It has to be somebody who's an uncle or something like this.
Interesting.
A brother to Lord Featherton through the line.
I was also afraid it was going to be Colin Bridgerton for some weird reason, only because of the way it was shot, because it went from like that to then Colin leaving. And so I went to this, like, how, like, is there some weird something? I mean, I don't know how it would pass Benedict and go to Colin, but it would just had to do something with the like the shot for shot thing. Fine.
You have to pass Anthony and Benedict.
Yeah.
Colin.
I know. So like there's no real reason why that would be the case. But I don't even remember. Was Lord Featherington in the books, or was she just a widow?
I think he'd already passed in the books.
I
don't remember. I don't remember a Lord Featherington being present in the books at all. That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, because one thing that I was because I was like, why is he a character? Why is there this whole thing about him and money? And I was like, oh, okay, they're just using it as a device to like show how like money works in the ton and how easily these aristocrats throw away money. And then I remembered, you know, the Lady Whistledown money stuff and how Penelope had pretended that an aunt died. And so, you know, she gave her money to her mom that way.
So that was how she kept the family afloat. Right.
I'm wondering if she's gonna keep the family afloat, but they're gonna, like, if Miss Featherington's gonna be in on it, Mrs. Featherington. I don't know. There's just so much that, like, it could be.
And she, you know, Mrs. Featherington will have to be on something because she's, you know, kind of got that Alexis Collin vibe going on a little bit.
Mrs. Featherington and her breasts, may I say, are like, they are what my favorite character, like she is, and her breasts. I mean, I'm laughing about that because her corseting is just fabulous, and like her breasts on display are sometimes distracting, but also in a great way.
And it's like, that's not Georgian. That's not our Regency count. What is she wearing? Because it's like,
yeah,
I don't know. But I mean, like, we can just talk about we've talked about it in an episode on the costume design, the perfection of the Featheringtons' costuming choices. I was like, yes, this is what I expect them to be wearing. I am expecting it to be like obnoxious and hideous, and like they just captured it. And like the latest style, but just
horrid. Yes.
Horrid. And I was like, oh man, yes.
Madame Delacroix saying, I had some fabric that no one else wanted. You
know?
And they're like, woo!
Yeah, and Penelope saying, and mine's yellow.
Yeah.
At the end. Oh God. So sweet and true. But yeah, so I think that there's a lot going on there. And I, again, was like so surprised how kind of quickly it summed up. Like, and happily we're getting the, like, my husband heard, you know, her being in labor because he was finishing up dinner, and he was like, wait a minute, are we getting the epilogue? And I was like, we are getting the epilogue, honey.
I mean, they could have had a whole season of that struggle, right?
Oh, for sure.
That as a struggle, and then the whole impending fatherhood, and then the, you know, going back to the trauma of his own. I mean, there were so many lovely things they could have done, and they just slap. Here you go. It's all, trauma's done. He's healed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I'm still ready for my Anthony redemption, so it's fine.
They did such a job of making him a jerk. I mean,
oh God, I've been talking about. I loved it though because Tessa Dare wrote something on like her Facebook group, and she was just talking about. I know some people don't like Anthony, and let me tell you, like, he's the best, and like I love the fact that he's such an asshole, and that's fantastic. And I was like, and she's like, and the actor did such an amazing job, and I was like, yes, and yes. Like,
but that's the thing, is we recently reread the book, and he is an asshole in The Duke and I. He's a major ass, and I remember being very kind of surprised by that, because I had my memory of Anthony was that I loved him so much. And so seeing him this way in the book, and seeing a lot of people say that, like, oh, I don't really like Anthony, I'm just like, exactly.
You're not supposed to. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. So really exciting things to come in that.
Yes. Sorry. And I'm also just going to gush because there's something I haven't been able to say yet on any of the podcasts, but I want to say is like Lady Violet. There's like the one line where she says, like, where they're trying to eliminate, the scandal. And she's just like, and we women will do what we do best, talk. And I was like, yes, you're going to gossip and talk, and it's going to be fabulous.
Yes.
That was such a brilliant thing, kind of showing the power of women, and what power they had, and taking that and, just amplifying it in the way that, they can do so well.
Yeah.
It was
the matriarchs, even Lady Fairlington for a little smidge, are just so powerful. You go from the Queen, you go for Lady Danbury, Lady Violet, or Lady Bridgerton. You go, they are masterful in how they use their power to just move the story along, to get these people to realize or to fix circumstances, because that was a scary thing. I was like, oh, how are they going to do this? Get Daphne out of this predicament, because they laid it on so thick about the importance of your reputation and how your scandal is going to, hurt the entire family. And, she's got sisters, and she, Daphne, of all of them, she's more concerned about everybody marrying and marrying well than all the other girls combined. So, it was an extra burden on her to do this right. So it was just wonderful seeing how soft power was used to fix the situation.
So how do you feel, Vanessa? Like, do you feel like they did Regency romance justice here with the Bridgerton series, or how would you sum it up?
Yes, because for a genre that I was watching some podcast, and they were saying the average age reader of Regency romance was 65.
What?
Yeah. Well, I think that's changed now. I think that it's opened up people's eyes to not only Regency romance, but historical romance, or romance in general, as something that is pleasurable, that has, right now society almost needs like a big hug, right? Society needs a big hug. Everybody seems to be on some level of stress. And to read something that guarantees you a happy ever after. So no matter how much anxiety the book may put you through, in the end, it's going to be satisfying. It's going to be rewarding. It's going to make your journey feel a little better, a little brighter. I think that's needed. And, the glitz and the glam and the fudges here and there of historical, quote unquote, accuracy. I think it's forgivable. The greater good, and that goes back to, I think this is the greater good, because it's shaking up a perception that was set up by other, the A&E's Pride and Prejudice 1995 version set up a view of how things looked. The earlier versions of Pride and Prejudice set up a view of how things looked, and sometimes those visions aren't inclusive. They aren't any more accurate if you really get down to it. If you really want to nitpick on clothes and things like that, and actual attitudes that were pervasive during the time frame, a lot of these things aren't necessarily historically accurate, but they're entertaining, and they feed this fantasy life that we need to have. So I'm excited about it. I think it's done wonders for Regency romance, and then people can choose what they want to read. Now that they know this is an option, they can choose everything on the spectrum, because there have been writers all across the spectrum, some more diverse than others, but it's a spectrum of joy out there that people are now going to pick up and start reading it. So I'm excited.
I am too, because even just with like my two coworkers, they're like, "Oh, have you watched Bridgerton?" I was like, devoured it. Do you want to read the books? I can tell you all about the books.
Exactly.
Well, and I am really hopeful that, like you said, this will bring people not just to watching it on the screen, but that this will bring people to the books, and that this will give more. I'm hopeful that this will give, more backing to more diverse historical romance selections, because I mean, to be honest, I only read historicals. I love reading about dukes, but obviously romance is formulaic, but I like seeing different stories and seeing, finding myself in different people or seeing different people's struggles and having that help me grow as a person. I want there to be more of that in contemporarily written historical romance. So fingers crossed that Shonda opened those floodgates.
Exactly.
For sure. Well, do you guys have anything else you want to add?
Ooh, favorite scene.
Oh, tell us all about it. Oh, I've got to think of it though.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite scene from Bridgerton?
I think we all like the burn scene, but I do like Simon's speech to Charlotte when he's saying what he really feels, but nobody can tell that's what he really feels.
Oh,
amazing.
Yes. That one was a moving moment. I think I already touched on it. I think when Lady Danbury is talking to young Simon in the second episode, because Lady Danbury is one of my favorite characters, and she came alive for me in the show. Like, I was like, yes, that's Lady Danbury. That's all I ever thought of her. That's all I ever wanted her to be. I love it so much. And her talk with Simon was just like, it was so good, and it was so moving, and it was powerful, and I loved every second of it.
Yes.
I think for me, I was trying to think. I was trying to come up with something that Eloise did because I really just enjoyed her and her spirit. I definitely enjoyed her moments with Benedict, when they had those brother-sister moments. They were incredible.
It humanized Benedict a lot, seeing him elevate. Exactly.
Yeah, but I was also thinking, I kind of just remembered there's a very feminist scene that Daphne gets to have towards earlier on in the series when she's riding with Anthony, and she just basically says something to the effect of like, you have no idea what it is to be a woman. And it was very well put. And again, in my favorite costume of Daphne's, which is that blue riding habit. So it's definitely in my memory.
Her back was so straight, and the way she was handling that horse. I was like, go girl. That was beautiful.
Yes, for sure. So, I mean, yeah, I've only seen it once. I need to go back and now get to like rewatch and really, dig in and start to see the nuances. Talking about it with everybody has given me a lot of like, oh my gosh, yeah, I did notice that, or I didn't notice that, or I need to go back and look at that. And that's what's also really cool about this show is that it was so well done in so many senses of the word well, that there's so much that you get out of a rewatch. This isn't just a one and done kind of show.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I've watched it more times than I care to admit. And now I've favorited reels on Instagram of just favorite scenes because people have gone and copied stuff. And I was like, yes, I need a hit. I need a Bridgerton hit.
I love it. Well, that's great because I think that, my hope is, and just from the buzz all about it right now, I really think we're going to get a Bridgerton fandom like we have a Pride and Prejudice fandom, or, I think that we're headed that way.
I think so too, because it hit so many. That's why we just go back to everything we've said. It hit so many chords and so many things to different people, different walks of life, that everybody is fiending for this series. So hopefully they'll get seasons 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. Well, I can't agree more. I want every season. I'll take 10 seasons. I don't, if they need to extend one of them.
They can do the second epilogues. That's the best part. She wrote second epilogues.
She sure did. I wonder if they will insert some of those as we're going along, like Daphne and Simon's second epilogue. But yeah, we'll see how the timelines all, spread out. Hyacinth has some growing up to do before we can see her happily ever after. Yeah. But I can't wait. It's going to be great.
It's going to be fun.
So Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to have you back on to talk about your books and to talk more about Regency history. Yes, An Earl, a Girl, and a Toddler is coming out. Oh gosh, I can't remember. April. And then you have Island Queen, which I'm really excited about, with the most beautiful cover. Oh my gosh. I can't wait
so
to read
beautiful.
that one.
Yes. And Lady Danbury is actually reading the audiobook.
Oh my
Are
gosh.
you kidding?
Not kidding.
What?
Yes. Lady Danbury.
Yes. I am like putting that on pre-order whenever it pops up in my sphere of reference.
Yes. Oh
my gosh, especially as I'm a nursing mom, audiobooks I think are going to become my new jam this year. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you if they want to find out more about you and your books and buy your books?
Well, the best way is go to my website, vanessariley.com. It's got all my social media. I'm active on Twitter. I'm active in Instagram. I struggle with Facebook, but I'm there.
Aren't we all? Yeah. Amazing. And then, you can buy Vanessa's books everywhere that you got books, your favorite indie bookstore and your big box places too.
Yes, please support your indie bookstores.
Absolutely. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us. This was a blast. And listeners, if you join us next week, we will be back to talk about episode 5 of the Bridgerton series. And we are joined by the creator of Julia Quinn Brazil. And she's with us to talk all about the Brazilian fandom and why is Julia Quinn basically greeted like she's one of the Beatles down in Brazil.
They love her down there. I mean, Brazil's got some of the best romance readers ever. So
they do. Yeah. So thank you all again for listening and join us next week.
And may all your ever afters end happily.
Tea and Strumpets is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts.
Hi, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Isabeau.
And we're Romance! Weekly podcast that looks at the history of romance, desire, tropes, and convoluted orgasm metaphors by talking through the sexiest parts, weirdest parts, and in-betweeniest parts of romance novels and the romance novel adjacent.
Novels like Awaken My Love by Robin Schoen,
Never Sweeter by Charlotte Stein,
or Shayna by Kathleen Woodowis.
It's Shanna!
Shayna.
And Aisha at Last by Uzman Jaluluddin.
Join us next Wednesday on your favorite podcast app. And remember, loosen your stays.
But never your principles.
And, we have a guest. Just a second. Dave, would you mind getting me the nursing pillow? I forgot to grab it. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Oh, look at this little angel.
Hi. Hello. Just saying hello. I know we're very hungry. So sad. You want to just wait a second, or we'll see if you can let me say my next sentence, or if until the nursing pillow gets here. Brain. Back
Conversation between Lady D.